Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I return once more as the voice of the Vasectomites. And today I wanted to address what is a recurring theme in our modern landscape, in our modern discourse and discussion, and that is the topic of dating fatigue, what some might call dating burnout. And effectively what it is just the exhaustion that people feel and that they come to through the experience of dating. But I'll be discussing this from the perspective of men, and in particular of bachelors and knee benders, young knee benders, right? So over and above the exhaustion, we have to mention is the inevitable and predictable outcome, which is the end of that relationship by various methods, with varying degrees of suffering. These methods range really from, as simple as being ghosted or just being ignored by your counterpart who just decided to move on, to the standard heartbreaking breakup and separation, whether permanent or temporary, or the ultimate devastation and catastrophe of divorce. In fact, when it comes to how relationships end, your choices and options are quite frankly endless in terms of the misery and suffering that you can expect. But that view of the end is a view of a distant future for some of you. For many of you, and those of you that have dated and are still dating now, you are the focus of today's video, right? I'm talking about the future knee benders, especially those that have tried and then failed and then tried and then failed and then tried and then failed again. And you are going to try again inevitably. I mean, this is becoming quite predictable, right? You're going to try and fail again and again. And if you do try again, I can only guarantee you that you're just going to fail again. This is actually quite predictable. Think of all your relationships and ask yourself, how many of them ended up in breakup? How many of them ended? Right? I mean, you have one right now that's successful, right? And does that one make up for all of the others? Does one success make up for a lifetime of failure? You have to ask yourself that question and answer it honestly. I would say that out of 100 relationships that a person can possibly have, 99 of them are going to fail. You might have one right at the end, and that's the one that's going to see you through to the end of your life, right? So you will fail again. And this constant trying and failing, this was once described as insanity, right? Insanity is very popularly known as repeating the same action over and over, but expecting a different result and a different outcome, right? And I suppose if you weren't expecting a different outcome, you wouldn't be inclined to try. And this is what I think separates bachelors, determined bachelors, even vasectomites from knee benders. Bachelors and knee benders have just come to a point where that whole system just isn't working. The results have been abysmal. The consequences, the outcomes have been abysmal. And what they're noticing is the cycle, the repetitive cycle, doing it over and over, asking the same person the same question again, like you can see in the picture, where there's a young lady there who's asking a gentleman, what's your favorite color? How many times have you told people your favorite color? Right? How many times have you told people your favorite music? Well, your favorite movie? You have it scripted, man. You have it all scripted down. Oh, my favorite color is this and that. My favorite movie is this and that. I like this kind of music. This is my favorite band. Blah, blah, blah. You know? You're just having the same conversation over and over and over again. And you have to ask yourself, how many years have you been doing this? Seriously, how much of your life have you spent dating? Or in the very least pursuing dates, thinking about dates, strategizing about dates, trying to get dates, calling, texting, all in the name of dates. Just add up the years that you've been dating and ask yourself, how long has it been since the first one? How much more do you have to go still? Right? Some of you are right there in the middle. And I can tell you, I started dating, I would say, in my teens. Let's say you started 13 years old, dating age-appropriate people. By 23, you've been doing it for 10 years. Seriously, you've been doing it with varying degrees of results and success and so forth. By 23, you've been doing it for 10 years. By 33, it's 2 decades. And so forth and so forth. You've only had 13 years of your life, and it was the first 13 pre-pubescent years where you weren't pursuing this. But since puberty, all you've done is pursue dating. I mean, just how many years has it been? And look at your age, how old you are, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And ask yourself, how much more of this can you take? How much more can you spend? How much more can you give? Apparently some of you can still give a lot. And for some of you, I mean, really, it's been decades of your life. In fact, it's been the majority of your existence. Your majority of your existence has been spent in, out, and around pursuing, thinking about, strategizing about relationships with the counterpart. Girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, work cousins, whatever you people, play cousins, whatever you people call yourselves, right? The situationships. How many of these have you been into? In and out and in and out. And much of it, quite frankly, has resulted in abject failure and loss. Despite your enthusiasm in going in, a sober analysis of all of this activity will tell you that you have achieved nothing. You have achieved failure and loss. You have lost mentally, you have lost emotionally, it has cost you physically, but most of all, you have lost financially. And for those who don't have something left in the tank, they are just left exhausted. Those who don't have the spirit to continue, the heart to keep going, you're just left exhausted, quite frankly defeated, right? And deflated with no energy, no money, no resources, no assets, no time, no capacity to support yourself and support others. Insanity, you must understand, is like a fuel. And it keeps you motivated to persist in the face of obvious and abject failure, devastation, and catastrophe. It has its roots deeply planted in delusion. When you do the same thing over and over again and you expect a different result, that result has to therefore be considered a delusion. Either what you're doing is not going to get you to the result that you want, or the result that you want is simply non existent. Either way, you're completely wrong. And after years of trying, surely you must either deduce one, you are insane. You must deduce that you are insane. Or two, if you are not insane, then the outcome for which you seek may not be attainable for you. So maybe the outcome is possible, but it might not be attainable for you. But I would surmise that the outcome that you seek is simply not realistic. It just doesn't exist. And my evidence of this is that there are men who are in abject poverty, married with kids, suffering in the romance wars and relationships. There are men who are unmarried, without kids, young men suffering in relationships. There are old men that are married in relationships, right? Suffering in that marriage, in those relationships. There are old men who are unmarried, suffering in relationships. There are rich men, billionaires of various wealths, right? From just above average all the way to the wealthiest men in relationship in the world, in the history of the world, suffering in relationships. Kings, emperors, prime ministers, wealthy men, leaders of the world, historical figures, all of them suffering in relationships. So, you have to come to accept that either all these ingenious men are insane, or the outcome for which all of you seek is either simply unattainable to every man, or it simply doesn't exist. I cannot foresee, it's possible, but I cannot foresee that how every single individual in the world is insane simultaneously. However, it is just simply possible that the outcome you seek is either unattainable for you, or it just doesn't exist. Either way, you end up with failure. Either way, you end up with loss, mental, emotional, physical, financial loss. And you're left exhausted by your own insanity. The delusion that if you try harder, you somehow get better at what you are doing by improving your skills, while simultaneously improving your odds of success by increasing the volume and quantity of people that you date is outrageous. And it is just the most common delusion. So on the one hand, you failed to attain this thing. And rather than admitting defeat, surrendering, retreating, right, moving in a different avenue, the bachelor life, getting your vasectomy, freezing your sperm, Your solution is to try harder and get better at doing the same thing. So you are now improving your failure. You are getting better at failing while simultaneously increasing the number of your failures. Can you see the magnitude of the madness? It is bottomless. This madness is, quite frankly, bottomless. And it is increasing. It is increasing. When the reality is that you are just going around in circles, and you're going to keep going around the same circle until you exhaust your strength, exhaust your finances, and then you'll collapse. And the irony of this circle is that it's not getting bigger. You keep thinking that you keep going around the circle, and the circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The circle doesn't get bigger. You are just getting older. It's the same circle and the same size. When you were young, you were running around that circle as fast as you could, and you could go around it as quickly as possible. But as you get older, you get slower. And you keep running around that same circle. And eventually, you're going to exhaust your strength. You're going to exhaust your power. And then you're going to collapse. And ironically, you believe that if you do win the affections of a counterpart, that it'll be worth something of value. And perhaps there might be something of value there until the inevitable breakup or the divorce. So for those of you that do, in fact, succeed in getting a counterpart, so you run around for years trying to get a counterpart, and then eventually you do succeed in getting the counterpart, the belief, again, we're talking about delusion, male delusion, the belief is that you're going to get something of value. Now, think back to all your other relationships where you believed the same thing and still failed in that relationship. And you believe you're going to go somewhere else and get something more of value from another counterpart. Isn't that just insane? This is the depth of that insanity. So now, not only are you doing it more frequently, at a larger scale, you are trying to diversify the way you run around that same circle. You think you're honestly improving something, but you're not. And for those that never divorce, you now have to spend the rest of your life, the eternity of your existence, with a counterpart. Now that's ironic, isn't it? So on the one hand, you exhaust your strength, you exhaust your finances, you burn yourself out trying to get a counterpart, and then you get one and you're stuck with one for the rest of your life, either through marriage or through having kids with them or whatever the situation is, and I mean, good luck with all that. That's not gonna work out. Just think about all your past relationships, how they ended, and how you really can't stand that person anymore. And now you're taking the same thing to a new person. It's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be a catastrophe. Sadly, your strength and spirit and mind and maybe your body will be the last things to break. Right? Those things, when they break, when your spirit, your strength, your mind, your body, your mental health, when those things break, they just indicate that you have finally and inevitably and predictably reached your limit, the limit that I keep warning you about. I told you all the time, just know your limits, man. If you should not be a father having kids, you should know that up front. You should know that coming in, get your vasectomy, freeze your sperm, get your vasectomy, so you don't force yourself to be out here having kids that you know you shouldn't be have. But the first thing that is going to break is going to be your budget. So first, you're gonna go out on a date. You're gonna have a budget. You're gonna think, oh, this is how much I'm gonna spend. I'm only gonna spend $75. You're gonna spend $125, not including the tip. All right. So the first thing you're gonna do is break your budget. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's just one meal. Blah blah blah. It's almost double what I thought I was gonna spend, but it's not too bad because I have the money. It'll be okay. The next thing you're going to break is going to be your wallet, because you're going to try that same stunt again, and the next time it's going to be more expensive. So now you've broken your budget, now you break your wallet, and inevitably, you break the bank. And now you're broke. Right? Now you're broke. This is the first thing that happens. Right? And nothing could be easier to predict. Nothing is easier to predict than a man going broke because of dating. There's just nothing easier to predict. You ask yourself, these celebrities, why? What happened to all your money? You couldn't have partied all that hard. No, it wasn't all the partying. It was all the dating. The restaurants, the champagnes, ordering at the top of the list, right? Because that's where they put the most expensive items. They put the most expensive items at the top of the list because they know you can't read. That's number one. And number two, they know you're going to want to prove, your valor by proving your wealth. So you're going to order the most expensive thing. And they know that you're not going to take the time to go all the way to the bottom of the menu to see the other options. But also, you're going to assume that a cheaper option is a worse option, right? Instead of actually just having a look and seeing what those options are. I mean, it's the easiest thing to predict. It is the easiest, simplest thing to predict. A man going broke because of dating, right? You've seen it. You know what? I'm gonna criticize some content creators. There are some content creators that even I like, and I'm new to the industry, right? I just arrived, new kid on the block, but I'm coming in with the strength of the underdog. You know what I mean? The eye of the tiger, that hunger that you have right at the start of the game. I'm like an intern trying to learn all the moves as much as I can. And what I see are, and I'm not judging anyone by their lives, but what I see are people who have come in with a certain consistency, and that consistency has dropped off. And that consistency drops off, and the next time you see them, there they are with a counterpart, right? So it's like, you're dating, but on the one hand you're losing time away from work, but on the other hand you're paying for the date, and you're getting hit on this side and you're getting hit on that side. This is the problem with dating. So on the one hand, you're not working, because even if you go dating all night and everything wraps up around 3-4 o'clock, and she says, oh, let's go to your place, you're not gonna say no after you've made that type of investment, which means you're not working tomorrow either, right? So now you just miss 2 days of work because you're dating. Really, that's what's been happening. You'll turn on to listen to your favorite content creator, asking yourself, even if you're just one guy watching, 2 guys watching, 5 guys watching, you do come to rely on these people to provide a certain quality, certain type of information, something that perhaps you can benefit from. When people start to become inconsistent, and then you look at, where's the inconsistency? Every single time, there it is, the counterpart right there. Some of them, they even take pictures, they record themselves. There you are with a counterpart. Guys, you'll never see a picture of me with a counterpart. This is not to imply that I'm never with a counterpart. I'm saying that I'm not going to put a picture of myself with a counterpart anywhere. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. But again, it's like the most predictable thing in the world. Guy goes dating, goes broke, right? For the reasons that I just mentioned. But let me mention something else, guys. This is Earth. And I keep saying this is Earth, the biggest business, the biggest corporation in the universe. Every aspect of this planet is for money. It is monetized. Every single bit, every single part of this planet, right? Earth can be separated, quite frankly, into two separate parts. On the one part, it's where people live, right? The residential areas. On the other part, it's where people work. When you leave your home, wherever you go, you will find someone working. If you're traveling, you're going to find somebody working at the hotel, right? Wherever you go, you're going to find somebody working, which indicates that it's a business, right? If you go to the mall, it's nothing but businesses, shops, right? If you're a tourist on vacation and you go to like a market somewhere in Asia, what you're going to see is that they have nothing but products for you to purchase. Traditional products, modern products, cultural products, something that will demonstrate your trip to that place, right? And often I'll be online watching all kinds of content. Really, I'm always online, guys, watching your content, and I appreciate it. Whatever content you make, I'm probably gonna get around to it eventually. I have no limits to the amount of content that I watch, but occasionally I'll watch like a travel video, right? A street walk video or a drive around video or a video of somebody riding around in a motorcycle, just recording the scene around them, the neighborhood. And what I see is always restaurant, place for activities, a place for nightclubs, a place for show, a place for entertainment. All these places are all for a fee. And it's just one after the other. Another place for manufacturing, another place for distribution, right? In fact, the only part of the video that I saw that was free was the beach, the mountains, right? And the roads, right? Not to imply that the roads are free, but you could walk on the road for free, right? So you could pass through the road for free, right? Now, let's not forget, you already bought the ticket, you already booked the hotel, you already had the meal in the restaurant and so forth. So you've already paid. They've already taken your money. But the road itself is the only part really that you can walk, right? All the other parts are restaurants, places for nightlife, places for entertainment, right? Even the chairs, there were no chairs outside. And if you go anywhere, you'll see there are no chairs outside, right? All the chairs are inside the restaurants, inside the nightlife establishment, the entertainment, right? Which means you don't even get to sit down for free. They won't even let you sit down for free. I mean, consider that, right? And if you don't believe me, I dare you to go somewhere outside of your own home anywhere outside of your own home in this modern world and sit there and see what happens. Somebody will bring you something that you have to pay for. Right? They'll offer you something, a bottle of water, something to drink, something to eat. And if you don't pay, they'll look at you oddly and say, well, what are you doing here? Right? Nothing is free on this world. Even that mountain, that beach that you're looking at, you gotta travel to go see that beach. You really have to travel to go see that beach. You have to look at how the beaches are made, right? In the beachfront, in most places, there are really no residential areas. There aren't that many residential areas. In some places, like some tourist places, yes, I know you can get a house on the beach, right? But I'm saying in like many tourist areas, you look around that place, it's just nothing but businesses, right? And just a long walkway, a long street and the beach, right? You have to go away from the beach or to another beach in order to get to the residential areas, right? There's nothing for free in this world, right? And if you want to see that beach, you want to see that mountain, you're going to have to put fuel in your car. You're going to have to pay for that fuel. You're going to have to put in that time, and you're going to have to travel that distance in order to see those features, those mountains. Think about this. Even the air is not free. I know people will say, oh, well, at least air is free. We know that water isn't free. Water, bottled water. So there was a time that you could drink the water in the taps. They used to clean it in a certain way. They stopped cleaning it in that way because they wanted to induce you to buy bottled water. So you can wash with it and so forth. It won't kill you. But what they want you to do is drink bottled water. What they're not telling you is that you can actually clean tap water to make it perfectly fine just by boiling it. You boil it, then whatever problem in there is dead and gone. This is the absolute truth, right? And they'll tell you that water doesn't have any nutrients in it after you do that. Water is the nutrient. Water is the thing that you want to get in your body, right? So, yeah, that's not really an argument. Like, you're better off drinking water than you are eating food. And you can go ask your doctor about this if you don't believe me, right? You're better off having a bottle of water than you are having a McDonald's burger. Sorry, I didn't mean to say the company's name, but you know what I'm talking about. You're better off having a bottle of water than you are having French fries, right? But I want to demonstrate that even the air is not free in this world. We, as humanity, people, not me, myself, but people, have been selling air for decades. It's called conditioned air. And to get that conditioned air, you need a device called an air conditioner, right? The air conditioner, when it's super hot, you just turn it on and it conditions your air to be just the way you want it. So if it's super hot, you can make it cool again. And if it's super cold, some of these air conditioners can make it hot again. But if your air conditioner only makes your air cold, that's good enough. Then you could just use it over the summer months, right? And there are many summer months, right? So you can use your air conditioner there, and in your winter months you can get a heater. Personally, I like the electric fan heater. It really works. The others I've tried have disappointed me, but I like an electric fan heater, right? To condition my air. You gotta pay for that. You have to pay for that. Otherwise, you have to deal with the elements as they present themselves, the elements of nature as they present themselves. Right? So when it's cold, you are going to freeze. And when it's hot, you are going to sweat. So, you will experience both temperatures, but in the worst circumstances. Whereas if you have the conditioned air, which you pay for, right? When it's super cold, you can make it hot. Or you can make yourself comfortable. When it's super hot, you can make it cool. You can make yourself comfortable. The air in this world is not free. So you must expect that dating would not be free either. The air is not free, the water is not free, education, there's nothing for free in this world. Not even nature. They will put you in a place, I promise you, they will put you based on what you can afford in a residential place that is far away from any natural beauty. And you will have to travel 1 kilometer, 5 kilometers, 10 minutes drive, 15 minutes drive in order to see and enjoy that natural feature. And while you're there, they'll make sure you spend some money. This is Earth. Everything is for sale, including the air. Absolutely, we will sell air, right? And so is dating. You cannot expect dating to be free and to be cheap. And I would argue, in fact, that dating is one, if not the most expensive activity that you can engage in as a man. It is literally just throwing money away. And this is not to have any hard feelings against nightclubs or restaurants or any of those places, because they have to earn a living too. They are providing a product and a service, and you pay for that product and service. But that product and that service is very pricey. And the more you engage in that product and service, the more expensive it's getting. Right? And it's justifiable that you would be exhausted. But before your body, your mind, your spirit gets exhausted, it's going to be your bank account that goes first. Right? It's absolutely going to be your bank account. And if you are dating 2, 3, 4 times a month, right? That's astronomical. That's astronomical for anyone to be able to afford. There are people who eat out almost every day. And that becomes ridiculous because you get accustomed to living like that, even though that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't care how rich you are. Well, eating out all day, one, is not just expensive, it's extremely unhealthy. So, it's not just about the money, it's also about, the damage that you're doing. But for all mortals, for us mortal men, dating is going to bankrupt you, man. Dating is going to bankrupt you before you even see one little bit of success. Just by comparing the cost of dating with other things like a vasectomy, which is going to cost you, $1,550. If you freeze your sperm, it's $1,600, $1,600, right? If you compare that vasectomy, things like activities, meals, outings, trips, gifts, and more, right? All those things, right? All those things are not free either. But you add those up and they'll easily dwarf the cost of a vasectomy, right? Not to mention that after you've done paying for all those things, eventually you're just going to get someone pregnant, right? Eventually, you're just going to get someone pregnant. And you have to understand, none of these things are free, right? None of these things are free. And you're doing all of these things, mind you, eating in restaurants, going out on activities, these trips, riding in these taxis, riding in these airplanes. All the while, the air is conditioned. Plane, air conditioned. Hotel, air conditioned. Restaurant, air conditioned. Taxi, air conditioned. Uber, air conditioned. Everywhere you go is conditioned air. None of it is free. And eventually you're going to tap out. And then you're going to burn out. But not before you go broke. You know, because there was a point in life where you were naive enough to believe that the air in this world is free. It's just imagine that there are people who still live their lives thinking that air is free when it hasn't been free in a very long time. And those people, they're gonna keep going, and eventually when they discover this truth, they're gonna be frustrated, and then they're gonna experience the burnout that we are going to see described in today's edification. The article today is entitled Five Signs of Dating Burnout. And then subtitled number 3, which is the header for number 3, you secretly hope your dates will cancel. So it's like it gets so bad that not only do you want to stop dating, that you hope that the people you've committed to going out on a date with, they'll call you and then cancel the date. Oh wow, that's low. That's a low. I mean that just means you've just gone from too many failures, and you can anticipate another failure, and you want to just surrender before you even go in. This article was written by Dr. Roxy Zarabi and reviewed by, I believe it's Dr. Uh, Ikua Hagen. I apologize for mispronouncing those names. This article was posted on the 29th of March 2023. It comes from psychologytoday.com, and I just decided to put in the full link. No point in leaving that information out, to be honest with you. So, yep, there's the full link if you want to read the article, but there's no need. I will do it right here with you. It starts with key points, and Dr. Roxy says burnout is usually characterized by a feeling that no matter what one does, nothing will improve, often leading to the feeling of apathy, right? I support that. I support that sentiment, right? I'm also the one who's had enough failures, tried again, tried again, got the same result, and then, just trusted the result. Eventually, there's a point, at what point do you stop and say, well, this is the result, this is the outcome, this is how this technology works, right? So, yes, apathy, right? In other words, an unwillingness to participate anymore. This doesn't mean that you don't participate in life. It just means that you don't participate in this nonsense anymore. 2, one study found that 78% of adults age 18 to 54, I beg your pardon, have experienced online dating burnout. I have not. I have no idea what it's like dating online. I've never tried to meet somebody online. This is not to imply that I go out and harass people, but I've been fortunate enough to have been introduced to interesting people. So for me, the best way to meet somebody is to be introduced, right? Word of mouth is still the best form of advertising. So but I've never really tried the online thing. I really have no opinion on it myself. I've heard of people complain about failures. I've heard of other people rave about their success. I have no experience, but almost 80% of adults, right, men and women, don't like it, So I guess my instincts were correct. Number 3, making a list of top relationship needs as well as deal breakers can help bring more intention into the dating process. If your list is more than 3 things, it's too long, right? If you're looking for someone in some things in a person, and you can't narrow it down to just three things, then your list is too long. Burnout occurs when the demands that are placed on you exceed your current resources and capacity to meet them. Burnout can occur at work, at home, or in your relationships. I like that definition, or at least that description of this set of circumstances. Burnout occurs when the demands that are placed on you exceed your current resources. So when you got more bills to pay than what money you have, or you have more responsibility than time that you have to meet that responsibility, right? Resources and capacity to meet them. This is a very good opening statement. It's generally characterized by a feeling that no matter what you do, nothing will improve, which usually leads to feelings of apathy. We've already discussed that. When you're burned out, it's difficult to feel present or experience joy, as there is often a feeling that that you're just going through the motions. Okay. So you reach a point where it's just like monotonous. You're just doing it. You're not really present. Then why go out? Why even try if you're not really present, right? This is the insanity that I'm talking about. You're just doing it, just hoping that you just keep doing it. Something will work out, you know? Maybe what people are experiencing is that other people are claiming tremendous success in their relationships, and you are trying to emulate the success that they have. But in fact, what you're going to find out is that those people are going to break up imminently, or that they're going to divorce soon. So the success that you are trying to mimic or duplicate is ultimately going to lead you to the same failures that they get to. It's an inevitable outcome. It's predictable, quite frankly, right? So what happens is you keep trying and you keep trying, right? And eventually, no matter what you do, it's just never gonna work out, right? And you're not gonna feel present. Eventually, you're gonna try, and you're gonna that next one that you do. It's not the previous one. It's the one where you think, okay, never mind, let me try again. And that next one that you try, when you're in that date, it's that moment where you feel like, you know what, I really want to go through this again. And there's nothing wrong with the person. It's all happening inside of you, inside your mind, right? You're just going through the motions. Modern dating can often lead to dating burnout. Dating apps can feel overwhelming, and the paradox of choice may give the illusion that the perfect match is still just a swipe away if you keep trying. Oh, I didn't know that. So you just swipe, and you keep thinking that the next guy is going to be better than the next guy, when in fact they're all the same. That's ironic, right? This was my concern. Before I even considered it, I thought, how much of it can I take before I get to a point where it's all kind of just the same, and I'm just swiping. I don't know what the direction is. I'm gonna assume I'm swiping correct, like I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you. Eventually you just select everyone that's available to you and hope that they select you back. Right? It just becomes like random selection. I can't imagine just sitting there going through all these pictures, going through all these profiles, going through all these profiles. Just millions and millions of profiles. No, no. I'd rather take a nap. And it gives you the illusion that you have choices, right? The fact that you swipe, look, the true measure of a technology is how intuitive it is. If I have to swipe more than 3 times to meet a match, then this technology is not working. I think 3 swipes is all you get. Okay, fine. Five. There's almost 10 billion people on the planet. Let's say I see someone that I like and I swipe on them, nothing. Two, swipe, nothing. Three, swipe, nothing. At number four, you kind of get the picture, right? And you swipe four and it still doesn't work, you're not getting a fifth swipe from me. I'm not, okay, let's say you do five just to test. First five, done quickly, bam, bam, bam. You still get nothing? No. No, that tells you everything you need to know. First five swipes, you don't get a match on that, you're never gonna see me again. And if 75% of people, 79% of people are exhausted with all the swiping, it just tells me that this technology doesn't work, right? And the paradox of choice is, in fact, an illusion. A study conducted by Singles Reports found that 78.37% of adults, that's 78%, not 79, between the ages of 18 and 54 have experienced online dating burnout. How much swiping can one really do? Like, I mean, two or three, man. Two or three is enough, isn't it? You're gonna swipe 100 times? Really? You're gonna swipe 100 times? No, no, I'm not swiping anything 100 times. I think 100 swipes is a lot. I think 10 swipes is a lot. Five is too much. Five swipes, that's way too much. So let's look at them, right? Dating burnout signs. If you're wondering whether you are struggling with dating burnout, consider the 5 signs below. Number one, dating feels like an obligation and a chore, so it's not something that you're excited to do. It's something that, oh, not again, not this again, right? I can imagine how some content creators might feel. Like, you're making your 100th video, your 1,000th video, you know. If you make a video every day, you'll hit like 100 videos in 3 months. That's it. It really just goes that quickly. That's one video every day. It's 100 videos in almost 3 months. You know, so it's about 365 videos a year, and at some point, I guess you have to know what it is that you're talking about, right? You have to know what product that you're doing. You need a product that you can sustain and talk about every single day. You know, so yeah, so I'm doing this content, and I think I could sustain it for a very long time. And pretty much I'm just saying the same thing every day. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. It's not a joke, right? But I think if you're not interested in what you're doing, including the dating, it can feel really like a chore instead of a labor of love, right? Instead of something that you're doing, you want to get good at, you can see yourself improving at it. You can see a benefit in it for either yourself or for others. I think when you do things for entertainment, that's where you fail. If you're doing it because you're trying to be fun instead of informative, you're going to lose. You're going to find out that people don't think you're fun at all, but they can appreciate the information that you give them. Otherwise, it just becomes like a chore, man. You don't have a structure, you don't have a standard. Now you're trying to be creative every day. Imagine trying to be funny every day. Oh, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. I couldn't come out here and crack jokes. How many jokes can you tell? How many? Because I can read 100 articles a year. I read every day. Do you know what I mean? I'm using the skills that I have, that things that I enjoy doing. Let me be honest. If I wasn't reading this information on this video, I'd be reading it anyway. I'd be sitting there going through this information thinking, this is interesting, right? And have no outlet for it. But I can see how if you're doing something and it's not interesting to you, eventually you get burnt out, it could feel like a chore. This is also true for dating. Hobbies like online content creation as well as dating, they can really get to people if you're not doing something that you're inclined to do or enjoying doing. It says, when dating feels like an obligation, it usually feels like too much work and you're not having any fun with the process. Oh, that's the worst thing. Oh, I would hate that. I'm still having fun making this content, and I think I will for a very long time because I also know that the topic that I'm talking about is a little bit taboo. So, that being taboo, that living on the edge, hiding my face, right? Being the Bachelor Supreme, while I'm not doing anything illegal, the mystery behind it keeps me engaged, right? I wonder what you would do if there was no element of fun. I'm out here teaching the deceptive arts, living it out. You know, there are people who might know me and watch these videos and not know it's me. And then there's a double-sidedness to this that makes this interesting, at least to me. I cannot imagine having to bring my best face every single day to a date, every day, wearing that same suit, same suit, same suit. Eventually, you do lose the fun, man. If you don't, I think if you're looking for love, true love, you're gonna miss the fun of dating. That's why you just need to get a vasectomy, man. Get a vasectomy so you can do the things that you love. It says here, if you have to work hard to convince yourself to go on a date, it's probably a sign to take a step back and recharge. Yeah. It just means you've had enough. Really, if you have to, if it feels like hard work to go on a date, it probably means that you're not into the person on the one, and you're just not getting what you want, and you probably haven't gotten what you want from dating in a long time anyway. And I'm one of those people. I didn't get what I wanted from dating. I'm not really sure what it is that I wanted. I know I didn't want to get anyone pregnant or didn't want to get anyone married, but beyond that, I'm not sure if I even knew what I wanted, to be honest with you. you know. But yep, take a step back and recharge if you feel that dating is an obligation. Oof, obligation. That's terrible. There's somebody on the other side of this that can't wait to see you. Been waiting all day to come see your beautiful smile. And you get there and you feel like it's an obligation. That's not nice, man. You might as well just stay at home and listen to the Ancient One and listen to the Bachelor Supreme. Let's continue. Number 2, you often feel drained by the thought of going out on another date or swiping for the next one. Isn't that kind of the same thing? Dating is an obligation. But okay, let's say you see the option of going on another date and it just exhausts you. I felt this way. I really felt this way. I got a contact from a counterpart, some type of transmission, some time back, and I sort of just let it fizzle out. I just can't imagine going, making the effort to go see them and do all that. To be fair, the counterpart is in another country, right? So I'm sure they're with somebody else anyway. So I'm not gonna go fly over there just to be penciled in, you know. But maybe it would be different if they were closer by. I don't know. But I understand feeling drained, just by the idea that you gotta get dressed up and you gotta get your hair done, and you gotta look your best and act your best, and just for you to not even be sure if you like this person, you know. It's worse, I think, when you think the person is dating somebody else, which most people already are. And if they aren't, they already have. So if you believe that this person is dating other people, really your enthusiasm is just going to be low. And people that are online dating, I'm absolutely sure they're dating other people. I can be certain that you're not the first person to swipe on them today, and you're not the last one to swipe on them today. I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in that kind of thing. It says here, Instead of feeling excited by the prospect of meeting somebody new, you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. That's probably because you've already met too many new people. So it's like every time, when you meet new people all the time, the process of meeting new people gets old. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, here's another new person that I met. You've met 100 new people, 50 new people, 20 new people. Number 21 is not going to make the difference. Really, they're not going to make a difference, right? So, now you're not excited. Now you're not excited, right? You feel exhausted and overwhelmed. You just feel tired by, another new person, another new person. It's different, I think, if you're selling a product and your job is to, engage with as many new people as possible. But if you're looking for something stable and all you get is a new face, new face, new face, when what you're looking for is an old face, one that you can get, used to over time, this can be frustrating. This can really be frustrating. Dating burnout can prevent you from forming a deeper connection with someone because you don't have the capacity for it. Yeah. If somebody's excited and you're not excited, they can sense that. And if they ask you what's wrong and you say no, there's nothing wrong, but you're not showing any enthusiasm for the activity or the outing or something, but then you say no, nothing is wrong, then that person is going to know that you're a liar, right? So on the one hand, if you're exhausted and overwhelmed and you act and then you try and pretend that you're not, then you become deceptive and people can see right through that, right? So and that's going to prevent you from forming a deeper connection if in fact that's what you're looking for or that's what the other person is looking for. They're going to feel you pull away and they're going to pull away too. The truth is, if you're experiencing dating burnout, it's probably because you've been on too many bad dates. And so if you're not excited to be there or it's not fun or you're distracted, people will know this, right? And they'll also know that you've been dating a lot. So they'll know that, this is happening because you're thinking about somebody else. Number 3 says you secretly hope the other people will cancel. So, you agree to go on dates because you don't want to be alone, but in fact, you just don't want the date. You want something a little bit more, but you're not getting that, right? Secretly hoping, there you go, hope. Secretly hoping the other person will cancel may be a sign that you do not have the emotional bandwidth for dating at this time. So, man, what can I say? For men, I think it's completely different. I think if a man is not inclined to date, he just won't propose the date. You won't just ask someone, hey, you want to go out with me if you don't want to date. But I think this one is more for counterparts. Where somebody asks you out on a date and you agree to go on a date and then later you change your mind, you don't want to go on a date. But you also don't want to miss out on the opportunity for the experience, right? So you go anyway because counterparts are broke. They're not going to take themselves out, and if they do take themselves out, they're going to have to pay for everything or fight over the bill, right? So they're going to go anyway, even though they know that they're not really interested in you, right? Because they don't want to be not going out. They love going out. Counterparts absolutely love going out. Not only that, they love to be seen to be going out, right? They want to be seen to be out there, to be. What they want is to show people that they can attract men in a way that men will take them to interesting places, right? So I'm an interesting person because a man is taking me to interesting places and he's interesting, thereby I'm interesting too, right? But so they don't want to sit at home. They don't want to sit at home. But they are hoping that they will like you. So you take them out on a date. They'll go for the experience, but also they're hoping that they'll like you. So, but even if they don't like you, they won't leave. They'll stay for the experience. They'll stay for the meal. They'll stay for the drinks. They'll stay for the service. They'll stay for the environment. They'll stay for everything except you, right? They'll stay for everything except you because they'll decide, well, I don't like you, but I like the environment and everything around you. Number four, you've lost hope of connecting with someone you actually like. Again, like, how do you lose hope of connecting with somebody that of connecting with somebody that you like? It means you've probably dated too much. The more I read this, it sounds like, dating burnout, you can only burn out by doing something too much. So, if you lose hope that you're gonna meet somebody that you like, this is troubling. This is troubling. Like, how many people do you need to meet in order to find one that you like? Because you're not going to meet every person in the world. I mean, just think about it. Even if you had to meet one person every day, right? You're only going to meet 300 people a year, 365 people a year. That's 3,650 people in a decade. That's a lot though, but still, you're not meeting one person every day. A new person every single day? No way. You're not going on a date every single day. Nobody does that. Eventually, you just burn out. If you're going on dates every single day, gotta dress up, gotta look good every single night, eventually you're gonna need to take a day off. Eventually you're gonna need to take a day off. You're gonna be exhausted. Being out all night every day, working all day, going out all night, it's not possible. It's just not possible. So eventually you lose hope that you'll actually find someone that you like. It says when you lose hope of connecting with someone you actually like, any motivation to go on dates or joy you could experience in the dating process is usually lost. I agree with that, right? I think the assumption is that you're gonna meet someone, fall in love, get married, start a family, continue to be in love, grow old together while you're still in love, and let the love grow beyond comparing, and then you're gonna die together while you're still in love. Of course, this is not going to happen, right? You're struggling to even connect with people on the first date. You think you're gonna make a lifelong connection like that? No way. If it was gonna happen, it would have happened already. Number five, you're more susceptible to feeling irritated or hopeless. When you're experiencing dating burnout, things that would have been minor inconveniences in the past may now feel really frustrating or difficult to let go of. Oh, I know, I have a good example of this. Have you ever heard of people dismiss another person because they laugh funny or because they breathe too loud? Like insignificant things like that. That's an indication that that person has dated too much, right? Or you chew loudly. Let's say you were given a chewy piece of steak and you happen to chew it loudly, or you chew and then something gets stuck between your teeth, right? And they'll dismiss the whole encounter just by saying, "Oh, you had something stuck between your teeth." Like how could you control that? You know what I mean? And if I remove the thing between my teeth, do I redeem myself? No, you're still disqualified because now you have to go and remove something between your teeth. What kind of man does it? I'm telling you, this is what happens when people who have dating burnout, this is what they do. They will dismiss you for the most ridiculous things, right? And they'll swear that their ex-boyfriend never had anything ever stuck in his teeth. And when he breathed silently. You couldn't even hear him breathing in his sleep. They will say the most ridiculous things. This is an indication of somebody who's been dating too much, who needs to stop dating. Because now you're just not even in the process. You're really not in the process. If you dismiss people for laughing funny, or not being able to laugh and chew food at the same time, or laugh and swallow at the same time. Like if these are the things that are on your mind, you've been dating too much, right? You've been dating too much and you need to stop, right? When you feel burnout, you are also more likely to find rejection particularly difficult, which may manifest in thoughts such as, I knew I would never find anyone, or this always happens to me, because it kind of possibly does. Right. This is kind of that inevitable outcome that I'm talking about. That eventually you just hit a roadblock, man. Eventually you just, by burning out is an indication that you've hit your limit. And you keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and eventually you just get negative about the process, because it's a negative process. Myself, I don't like nothing about dating. I don't really like nothing about dating. I don't like the process. I don't like how you meet people. I don't like the people that you date, and I don't actually believe in relationships at all. Marriage is one thing, but relationships are absolute nonsense. They are absolute nonsense. So the two of you shake hands and agree to start sharing bills, right? With and then one person decides this is too much. They walk away. The whole agreement falls apart. It's ridiculous, man. The whole dating system is ridiculous, and the fact that you've done it so many times to the point where you are burning out, that is a problem. That is a real, real, real big problem. But in my opinion, relationships aren't even real. They're not even a real thing. I mean, what exactly is it that you're doing? What commitment is there? It's one thing to have a baby with that person, right? Then you got a biological commitment. But you're just in it to be in it, man. Fine, if you're looking for someone to share life with, that's one thing. But if you're not, you're just wasting time. You're just wasting time and you're gonna burn out. I think if you're just dating to entertain yourself, but even then you're just gonna keep burning out, man. Burnout, I think, is inevitable. These details that they're describing here, to me, I think these are details that are very common in people that date. If you are dating and it's not your first date of your life, if this is date number 3 or 4, 5 is going to burn you out. At 5, you're going to realize that I'm repeating the same process and I'm getting the same outcome, right? And I just have to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying to keep getting the same outcome. This is insanity. Dating is a form of mental illness. Let's see if we can offer some solutions. It says, what to do about dating burnout. Stop dating. Dating requires a certain level of openness and vulnerability to establish a connection with someone. So, what you're trying to do is make a connection with someone so you can, get married and have kids? I don't know. If you're experiencing dating burnout, consider the following tips. Tip number 1, take a break from dating. Stop dating. If you're noticing the signs above are present for you, it may be time to consider taking a step back from dating. Take 2 steps back. Forcing yourself to try harder when you're already feeling burned out will only add to your frustration. This is what I said earlier, right? You're gonna keep trying more and more and more and more and more, and eventually you're gonna realize you're just going around in circles. A certain level of vulnerability and emotional capacity is needed in order to form a genuine connection with someone. You're not getting a genuine connection with anyone. You are not getting a genuine connection with anyone. It's all in your imagination, right? All these things that are happening, they're happening in your mind. They're not happening in reality. The two of you are falling in love together. There's a waiter standing right between you. He's standing right in the middle of the two of you serving food, and he doesn't feel that love connection at all, right? This love connection is only happening to you. Consider spending time engaging in activities that help recharge you during your time off from dating. Yeah, stop dating, man. Do something with your life. Really, And I think really that's the problem. People don't have anything to do with their lives. Not really anything interesting, right? No skill worth showing, no nothing. So if you're not dating, you're not really doing anything. There are some people who I promise you, if they were not dating, there would be nothing meaningful happening in their lives. Nothing meaningful from work, nothing meaningful from their own projects, nothing meaningful in terms of income, nothing meaningful in terms of physical capacity, nothing. Nothing. I cannot explain to you the extent of nothingness in people's lives. All they do is talk about what they saw other people do, right? So I mean, I'm out here talking about the bachelor life, talking about the vasectomites, and I'm not saying that this is a great movement, but you can tell that I have something more to think about in my mind other than what other people are doing. In fact, I don't think I've discussed anybody on this platform. Well, I did, let me not lie. I've discussed several influences, but I'm really not spending all day long talking about, well, this person did this and he said that, and that's really not the kind of person that I want to be portrayed as. Right? It's really not the kind of person that I want to be portrayed as. But these things, it really just shows the extent to which this invention is failing its people. The invention of dating in order to meet someone and have a connection has demonstrated to me tremendous failure. It has demonstrated to me tremendous failure, to the point where the best thing you can do is probably just walk away. Right? The best thing you can probably do is just walk away. And I keep saying it, the winning move is not to play the game. And I've played that game, and really, you win some and you lose most. And the little that you do win is not worth the effort that you put in. It says, number 2, assess what aspects of the dating process are draining you. Finances, emotionally, physically, spiritually, economically, productively. Like, it'll drain every aspect of your life, right? Take some time to evaluate the aspects of your dating process that are most draining to you. For example, instead of pressuring yourself to go on a specific number of dates each week or continuously swiping on dating apps, I think they're talking about counterparts, because most men can't afford to date more than once or twice a month. Consider the scheduling dates and using a dating app when you have more energy and you are feeling excited about meeting new people. I think this is written for a counterpart, right? Because counterparts love dating. They love dating because they don't pay for the dates, right? So if somebody asks you out, they gotta pay for the date, right? Somebody agrees to go somewhere with you, they gotta pay. As soon as a knee bender comes in, he takes on the responsibility of the bill. So they absolutely love dating because it's a free and expensive endeavor for them. It's expensive on the one hand, but completely free on the other, right? So, for them, it's just about meeting new people and deciding if they like you. For the guy, it's a whole budget, right? You got to plan this thing and find a way to pay for it too, right? Once you consider the aspects that you find most draining about your dating life, you can implement a plan to address them. For example, you may decide to only talk to a certain number of matches at one time to avoid feeling overwhelmed, or to only use a dating app once or twice a day for a specific period of time. These people are spending all day on the dating apps. The way she says you gotta use this dating app once or twice a day in a cautionary way, these people are spending all day on the apps. Don't get me wrong, I spend all day online too. I spend all day watching news, watching documentaries, watching the things that interest me, right? Watching these videos, watching reviews, all kinds of things, travel videos. So I imagine that the amount of time that I spend online, they spend on dating apps, which is like the majority of the day, unless I have something really to do. So these people are spending all day long on the dating apps. These people are obsessed with dating, man. They're obsessed with dating. And they're obsessed because they don't want to be alone. This is what you have to understand. When the counterpart is alone, it means there's nothing happening. She can't pay for herself to go out. She can't take herself anywhere, right? So she needs to have somebody there all the time to facilitate something, right? So she needs to have a man in her life to facilitate her next activity. She needs to have someone to take her out on a date to facilitate the dating. She needs somebody there to go with her overseas to facilitate that, right? You see a counterpart that's traveling, they're not traveling alone. And they're definitely not traveling with friends. There's a man there. There's always a man, right? There's always a man to facilitate things and to take pictures, of course, right? So you have to understand that they spend a tremendous amount of time on dating, right? A tremendous amount of time on dating because it's beneficial for them, right? Dating is beneficial. Not dating for a counterpart is suicide. That's what a lot of people don't get. Not dating for a counterpart is tantamount to suicide, right? You know what I mean? Self elimination, right? Because they're not going to become millionaires. They can only afford about 16% of the bills 16% of the time. So all they're doing is just piling up debt, piling up debt, piling up debt. And by the time you get that, this is why one of the reasons why men don't like to date older counterparts. Because you're coming in with a tremendous amount of debt, right? And I'm going to pay off that debt. And as soon as I pay off that debt, there you go out the window. Like a thief in the night, right? And even if you don't pay off that debt, that's going to be stress on you for years and years and years and years. She's going to put that stress on you. Even if she says, don't worry, I'll take care of it. You just take care of the bills at home. Eventually, that debt is going to be one of the bills at home, So, yeah, you're definitely going to pay off that debt, This is all they do, is they accrue debt and look for dates in order to escape that debt. But if they decide to live their entire lives by themselves, eventually they end up homeless and destitute because they end up not being able to pay rent, they end up not being able to pay bills, not being able to pay their car, not being able to buy groceries, not being able to do anything. And eventually they need somebody to bend that knee. And somebody's always going to come bend that knee, right? So that's why they spend so much time, right? That's why they spend so much time on these dating apps, right? It says here, this can allow you to preserve your dating energy so that you can have enough capacity and energy to connect with your matches. Matches, more than one, plural. So, they're also dating more than one person. Again, it's also a situation of if she dates one guy, that means she's only going out twice a month, maximum, right? Because you're not going to take her out every day. If she dates 3 guys, that means she's going out once every 2 days, right? So, or at least 4 guys can take her out once every 2 or 3 days, right? This will include weekends and that kind of thing. But otherwise, she's not. What else are you gonna do? What else are you gonna do? Sit at home and text? Sure, that's one thing, but somebody's gonna say, "Hey, come, let me take you out," and she's gonna agree because she's not doing nothing, and she loves going out at any cost. This is why counterparts are always late at work, by the way, because they're always going out because they want to be seen to be going out, so they're gonna go out. They're gonna go out late, because pictures are different at night. Pictures look completely different at night. right? People can dress and be something completely different at night than they are during the day. So you can be absolutely sure that the counterpart is absolutely gonna want to date. Absolutely gonna want to date. But you, on the other hand, when you are exhausted financially, you won't be able to cope, right? You won't be able to cope. The last final step of advice on what to do if you're experiencing dating burnout is honestly reflect on your relationship needs and the deal breakers. It says here, when you know what you want and you're honest with yourself about why those things are important to you, it can help you navigate dating with intention and prevent you from feeling burnout. Yeah. I think the problem is knowing what you want and then not getting it. That's what causes the burnout. So you think you know what you want, you indicate that you know what you want, and then you're not getting it, and that's gonna cause you burnout. Consider creating a list of your top 5 relationship needs and 3 to 5 deal breakers. No, you need a list of 3 things and 1 deal breaker, right? Then at least you know what you want. If you have things like up to double digits, you're gonna contradict yourself. It's only a matter of time before you start contradicting yourself. Using this list as a guide can help you date with intention and avoid spending extra energy on people who are not compatible with you. This is written for the counterpart. This is absolutely written for the counterpart, and it's written with absolute ignorance. The counterpart is gonna get to 8 things on their list and then ask themselves, why should I stop at 8? And then they're gonna continue to like have 1,000 things and still think that, it's reasonable. What you want to do is create a list of all the things that you provide for another person. And you can say, I bring this, and I do this, I'm good at this, and I do this, and I can do that. And then that person can say, okay, I will, think that you are a good companion, right? But this is thinking like a man, right? A man will come in and say, these are all the good aspects of my life. This is what I'm good at. This is what I bring. A counterpart will just either decide if they want it or not. This is how they think. They think that their job is to agree or disagree. You bring them options and they just choose whatever they want. But left to their own devices, they don't know what they want. But not only that, even if they did know what they want, they don't have the capacity to go and achieve it or to go get it for themselves. Right? So, they will eventually waste time. And just to mention, whoever they do end up dating is going to be the wrong person. Every time. Every single time. Right? Although you won't know right away whether someone is a deal breaker or can meet your relationship needs, some initial conversation and or first date can help give you that information. So this is another problem. You'll have these things on your list, but to actually discover if these things are there in the person, you're gonna need months. You won't be able to figure these out on the first date, like this article implies near the end. But it's right to say that it's gonna take time, and you're gonna have to see that person a lot under different circumstances. So when you see them in a restaurant, at the end of the day, and they're tired, and they're trying to get you to like them, but they're also in public, surrounded by other people, in an environment where they are not familiar, one mistake, anything can happen. You're not gonna get the best. I mean, the real version of that person. What you are getting is their best representation of themselves. but you're really not getting a real indication of who that person is. So even if you write this list down, are you actually going to know this? And if you do, it could be a decade before you find out. And even then, a decade, I mean, people change. Like, you're not the same, or you're not expected to be the same at 25 as you are at 35 or 40 or 45. So people change, well, except if you're a bachelor. Apparently, bachelors can remain immature their whole lives, which is disappointing. But those 10 years, they change you. At 25, you're not a father. At 35, you're a father of two. And it's, at 25, you're new to the company. At 35, you're managing a department, and this is your second promotion. It's a completely different situation. But they'll wait 10 years to prove their delusion and say, you see, after 10 years, he finally got tired of me and annoyed with me and left. Yeah, after 10 years. But 10 years ago, this wouldn't have happened, right? But you were looking for it 10 years ago and didn't find it. So it's ironic, and it's insanity. It's insanity. Just waiting 10 years doing the same thing to get one piece of evidence to say, yeah, my inclination was right. Your inclination was wrong for a decade. For a decade, you were wrong. By the time your inclination was right, you're a middle-aged woman. So you're justifying the inclination of a child and comparing it with the results of a middle-aged woman. And you can't do that. You really can't do that. Finally, we have a disclaimer. It says this post is for informational purposes only. This post is not intended to be a substitute for professional or psychological advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your mental health professional or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding your condition or well-being. I should put a disclaimer in all my videos, because I talk and sound like I'm an expert in all things when in fact I'm just gathering information. I should put a disclaimer out there. But no disclaimer needed about the bachelor life. Go ahead and freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, right? So you can live the bachelor's life tremendously with freedom and self-determination. But yes, if you are experiencing dating burnout, you are not wrong. You are doing a foolish thing for which you should stop immediately. Dating is not going to benefit you in any single way, even if you are successful at it. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to spend the rest of your life stuck with a counterpart who is going to go out of their way to make you miserable. And you're going to think that I'm joking and I'm saying this just to be spiteful until it actually happens to you. But then I won't be there to even tell you that I told you so, right? I'll be far, far away just making another video about another topic. But you'll be burned out, you'll be exhausted, and you'll be financially destroyed. And nobody will be there to help you, right? So if you are experiencing dating burnout, it's really an indication that things are not going your way and you're not getting what you want. And chances are you won't. I suggest that, you do the intelligent thing. The winning move is not to play the game. The winning move is not to play the game. And you can think that you can play the game with money and you'll still be burned out. With education, with intelligence, right? People with money, education, intelligence, success, they all tried to play this game and came to the same conclusion, right? It's not worth your time, it's not worth your effort, and you're not going to get anything in return. Many men are just really chasing down the investment that they make and the risk that they took biologically by engaging with a counterpart, which is why you need to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy so that that risk is minimized. It's removed completely. So if you are engaging with a counterpart, you do so because you want to and maybe because you like that person, right? It's nothing more than a social interaction, a friendly, upright, legal social interaction between two consenting parties. This is really what you want. All right, this is really what you want. What you don't want is to be told that somebody's pregnant and that yesterday was your last day of freedom. That is going to devastate you. And I'm trying to prevent you from that devastation by offering you the sacrifice, the small, small sacrifice for salvation, for your unrivaled, unlimited liberty and freedom. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, and avoid the burnout. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. Thank you again for your time and your attention. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I always will. And I'm hoping that you will have a lovely day.